We are in San Clemente, California, which normally I would say is sunny and bright. It is not today. It is gray and cool, and they all think they're freezing because it might be 60 degrees. But we're at the Shoreline Church, very cool church, growing like crazy, hanging out with George and Chris. We're going to tell a little bit of their story, but it's another episode of Getting Pizza with Pastors. Did I say that right? Pastors Getting, because I got yelled at last time. With another cool episode of Pastors Getting Pizza. And every place we go, I know pastors all over the country, and they all like pizza. And everybody's got a little different style. We're going to get another story here, even though we're in San Clemente, which is surfing world and coast and all that kind of stuff. Got a little different spin on where we get the pizza. George and Chris and Shoreline Church, they got a big expansion project going. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go as well. But first, with any more ado, give me the background. Why this pizza?
Well, it's called a pizza doho, and there's both names mean something. The a pizza part, that's Connecticut-based, New Haven style. Chris will tell you a little bit more why that's awesome. But the doho is interesting because that's a take from Doheny in Dana Point, California. Mm-hmm. So Doheny's been called doho for a long time. So that's very common in Dana Point to talk about going to doho. It's a family beach. It's where most people in South Orange County would have learned to surf, was at doho. Okay. So to call it a pizza doho is bringing two coasts together in Fusion. One pizza, yeah. And bringing people together like families learning to surf. So, and it's delicious. Why is it delicious? What do you know about this?
I mean, there's not much not to love about this pizza. The crust, first they're fire baked in a brick oven, and
they all should be.
As they all should be, right? It's thin crust. The crust is chewy, but perfect enough of chew to it. The sauce is on the spicier as opposed to the sweeter side, which is a personal favorite of mine. So it's just a fabulous pizza. And they do use very, very high quality toppings. My wife likes to say that this is the only pepperoni that she will eat.
Whoa.
So.
See, now I thought you were the pizza snob. Now we know your wife is the pizza snob.
It's true, yeah. She's the snob. I just love eating pizza. So.
All right. I'm trying to piece. Dig in. What's this one?
So that's cheese pizza, and that's pepperoni with sausage. Thank you, sir.
With sausage. So
that's double the meat in that one, pepperoni and sausage.
So you will catch this, folks, that even though we're in Southern California, where you would think you're not allowed to have meat, we can have meat.
That's right. We go against the grain.
Why would you think that? Yeah. Because crazies. SoCal, come on.
Well,
I've been here.
Yeah, we'd be lying if we said they weren't here, but not everybody's that way.
It's, all right, I got to have a bite. The last one we did was in Pittsburgh, mm-hmm. and it was good. It was a cool story and everything, but it was the first time I'd ever had pizza that had honey.
Oh yeah, they do have a hot honey here too.
Hot honey for sure.
I must live under a rock. I did not know that was a thing.
Oh, sweet and spicy.
Huge. My wife orders that every time when we're a family and we're getting pizza. There's hot honey on my pizza all the time now. Mm-hmm. It's normal. But I think you're going to like this.
Mm. They also have one called the vampire pizza, which has a whole lot of garlic, but I thought that may not be appropriate for us in a couple of ways. Too much garlic and vampires. So.
Well, is it taking you to New Haven, Connecticut?
Well, I've never had pizza in New Haven, but I like all pizzas. Never met a pizza I didn't like, but I do like thinner crust. Yeah. I do like fire kissed, whether it's wood or coal. Do they do coal in New England? I wonder. I don't know.
Wood.
It would. Mm-hmm. I don't like. There's some place that does cold pizza. I don't know where that. I'm not into that, but this is delicious. It's there's some substance to the dough.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if there's a California pizza style. Well, of course, there's a California pizza kitchen.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know if there's a style of California. Because to me, even when I go to California Pizza Kitchen, it's like Thai or there's all these different kinds. But I know that just in our local area, you can get pizzas of all different kinds. New York style, you can get thick crust, thin crust. There's not really, as far as I know locally, maybe you do, of a Chicago style. that I know of
So
locally?
quasi would be Selma's.
Oh,
So
Selma's.
Selma's. But yeah, you'd have to go to North Orange County to.
Now, I've
to
been
really
told,
get
I
good
could be
stuff.
wrong, but because we think Chicago is deep dish, but isn't there also a thin Chicago? Isn't there two different Chicago styles? I could be making that up.
Don't know.
I could be
I
making
do know deep dish, and yeah, Chicago is home to some famous deep dish pizza places. Gino's East and Giordano's probably being the top two, and they're both fabulous. So here's a funny story about me with pizza. Is that I love thin crust pizza like this, and I love deep dish pizza. Like deep dish, like you have a half of a piece and you're already in the meat sweats type of pizza, right? So I love both of those. I don't like in between. I don't like it where the crust is thick, where you're just filling up on crust. So
That makes sense.
So I years and years ago had an opportunity to go speak in Italy, and it was in southern Italy. So we landed in Naples. First place I had pizza was in Naples, a little hole in the wall place. I was preaching for a tent revival in Naples, and it was Jesus is the answer, I believe is what they called it. And it was like a carnival, and they took this tent all over Europe, and every day, 365 days a year, they do a service somewhere. And so that's where I was. Afterwards, my interpreter Luigi took us to get pizza, and it was little hole in the wall. Naples is not the nicest parts of Italy, and it looked like a garage where you roll up the metal door. And there was a handwritten sign that said no smoking, which is okay, but the waitress was smoking.
interesting. You ever seen that sign?
Smoking
Or
for you. I guess but I had multiple pizzas in Sicily and Palermo, different places. But what I was exposed to there, and I did not get up north, so I know that part of Italy is supposed to be different. But they thin crust, fire kissed, very little meat. That seemed to be an American thing. The meat lovers and that kind of stuff. It was not a lot of that. But the bread's so good that I just was like tear around the outside of the pizza and eat that. It was just.
it's when you know you have a good pizza. Like if you look forward to eating that pizza crust, you have a good pizza.
Now we're in a cool room right here. This is part of the church. This is your cafe, which is called like Poseidon's Adventure or something. What's it called?
It's called parison, which might be a quiz.
So
if you know what parison means, it's a biblical word, and I won't spoil it, but I'll tell you in a minute what parison means.
Okay, yeah, I got all this Bible stuff. All right, so you gotta have a Bible name.
Yeah, it
Can't
is.
have like Joe's Coffee.
But it's a sneaky Bible name because a lot of people don't know what it is.
I don't. What is it?
Okay, it's the word Jesus used when he said, "The enemy's come to rob, kill, and destroy, but I've come that you might have life." And then he says, "Life abundantly," or to the full or overflowing.
Right.
He says parison.
Okay.
Parison life.
Very
So that's the Greek behind it. So it means abundant, overflowing. So as a coffee and bowls place, it's overflowing with goodness and life. So it's both a reference to the life that happens in this place and that the food's going to be really, really good when we open it eventually.
So Shoreline, you can't see this. We'll have some other shots to go on the show later that hopefully will capture some of the outside. But it's in a corporate park, and you have a building here. You are in the process of getting a second building.
Yep.
So that you can continue to expand. How long have you been in this location?
Since 2012, in the process of buying it, moved in 2014, February of 2014. So a little over a decade that we've been in this particular location.
So the hard to find this place when you found it originally?
Well, it was.
Southern California is hard to find a big building.
And that's, my understanding is when you go into other cities in America, sometimes the city planners go, here's the four corners where we're going to have the churches and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's long gone, and at least in California, that's long gone. So when we were talking to the city, we started at the community center on Del Mar Street, right in the middle of town, farmers market outside on Sundays. It was just happening, and we loved it. And everybody loved it. Everybody at church loved it. Farmers market loved it because we're bringing people down there. But then the city loved the farmers market. So now you got more and more people, cars parking and all that. So eventually the city said, hey, since you guys are kind of overgrowing it, would you find another spot? So we went to a school for a few years as well, but we were always looking for our own home, and went in conversations with the city saying, so where do you want to point us? What do you think we should do? And they would just consistently say, look in the business park. So that was kind of the city's plan. So we're just there's other churches that are up here in the business park as well. And that's kind of the city's plan for that. Seems to be the best use. Because obviously we're holding church on weekends. We hold services on Saturdays and Sundays, but nobody's up here working at the businesses on those days. So they'll share their parking with us. We're kind of the only ones up here on Saturday and Sunday, and then we can kind of be loud and have some fun and things like that too. So we don't step on anybody's toes.
Okay, I don't. It was not my intention today to go down this rabbit trail, but it is interesting to me because I know that in your expansion here, you've had to just recently go through the hearings and had a little contention, but God blessed you and you got through it on the other side. And
praise the Lord.
Communist California still loved you. You're still allowed to be here, but you went through that. I think, listening to what you just said, it's like, hey, wait a minute. The reason we're here is because you guys thought you wanted churches in business parks.
That did come up, and part of the process was like, this is where you've told us to go and thrive. And thankfully, the more level heads of the city know that, and they understand that, and they agreed with that. Like, yes, this is where we want you to be, so we're working with you. And like you mentioned, it did get passed and approved, which we were very thankful for the expansion project. So this is a city. San Clemente is a great city, has been for a long time. It's a growing city. It's added a lot of population over the last decade, and it's a surf city. It's a surf beach town. It's laid back, but it's family style. It's very faith friendly. Man, it's a wonderful little city for sure.
So if you come out of Los Angeles and go south on the 405, down here you have to say the 405. I lived in Seattle. We had 405. You just said 405. But
that's
here
weird.
it's the. You got to have the in front of it. So you get on the 405, go towards San Diego. You get all these beautiful spots down through here. And San Clemente is one of those. You said surfing, so we got to hit surfing. So you started off as a surfer, not just a kid that enjoyed surfing, but you actually did it professionally.
Yeah, and just like that, started out as a kid. My brothers taught me as an 8-year-old and started taking me to Newport Beach. We lived near the John Wayne Airport, and so we'd go straight down to the Newport. My brothers taught me.
Somewhere around high school, early high school age, I started realizing that I was getting better. And, people down at the beach would say, hey, you're getting good, kid. And I can remember one guy said to me, he worked for Quicksilver, which was in the Costa Mesa area, one of the huge companies back then.
Right.
And he said, hey, kid, you're getting
really good. I'd like to sponsor you someday. Which, as a kid, you're thinking, well, that sounds amazing. Let's find out how that works. And so, kind of early high school days started getting kind of noticed and notoriety, and then started getting some, handouts, sponsorship type stuff. And then later, high school years, started competing in earnest in the amateur organization, the National Scholastic Surfing Association, which out of California was producing, just before my era, world champions like Tom Curran came out of the NSSA, and some of the better known guys from California who are now on the world tour. So it was kind of a track that was built. Do well in the NSSA, and that's your amateur track to the world tour. And that's what I did. Went through the NSSA and built up my rankings, and then went out on the world tour in 1986 and traveled the world from 1986 through to about 1990. And at the same time, a California tour was developing. They called it the Budweiser Pro Tour. And so a lot of my friends were staying in California and doing pretty well too. So in 1990, came home and I surfed on the Bud Pro Tour for a while as well, and based out of California. So it was an amazing season of time. The surf industry back then was booming. I mean, clothing companies, wetsuit companies, sunglasses, surfboards, shoes, vans, all of those kinds of things. Just companies exploding, and it was, and they were sponsoring, and they were putting on events, and there was just so much goodness flowing in and through the surf world back then. It's sort of tapered off these days, but it's still very active these days. So, man, it was great years. It was interesting back then. To make a living as a pro surfer, you not only did competitions, but you did photo trips. because getting in the magazines was a big deal.
Right.
So hopefully you could get into the magazines and get your photo. And most of my sponsors had incentives for photographs. If you get a photo in Surfing or Surfer, or back then there was a magazine called Breakout, we'll pay you quarter page, half page, or on the cover. And they would have amounts that they would pay if you got your photo. So doing photo trips was a huge thing back then. And of course, the lighting and the color of your wetsuits and how your boards looked. And all of us were thinking through, how would that look on a page? If I do a turn and throw a spray like that, does my wetsuit match my board that matches my trunks? Is the photo editor likely to like that? And we were thinking, it was marketing all the way. We were thinking about all those things.
So pre-internet, you were already an influencer. you were trying to say, okay, I could get likes, and people would like that and see that picture. I mean, because now I'm sure it's all digital and they do all that, and the magazine's probably all gone bankrupt. But it's all changed.
Well, yeah, the magazines don't exist anymore. The print media. I mean, there might be some smaller ones that were out there, but that was exactly what it was. So for contests back then, they were trying to get eyes on the beach.
Right.
So they were trying to hold it at big beaches like Huntington Beach and get people on the beach. That was the big idea, get eyeballs on the beach. But when it came to the magazines, it was get your sponsors seen in the magazines.
Right.
Because they had great distribution. And so the bigger the photo, the better. And the better it showed that sponsor on. So we had stickers on our surfboard. Of course, our wetsuits had stickers on them. I have a photo on one magazine cover where O'Neill wetsuits and O'Neill's right down my arm like this, and the photo's straight into the wave like this, and I've just got O'Neill proudly displayed while I'm, going through the barrel on this one. So, but that was the big idea.
See, young George was going, cha-ching!
Yeah.
I'm going to get paid for that one.
It did help. And you're struggling. You're struggling
Sure.
to get by. You're traveling the world. You're buying really expensive airplane tickets and hotels and everything to get around the world and all that kind of stuff. But it's so exciting, and you're putting it together, and everybody's in on it. You want to do great as a surfer. The sponsors want to do great. The people putting on the contests. When we would go to England, we'd show up for the contest in England, and the tour started in England, and it would go all the way down through Portugal. And there was multiple contests all the way through the European leg of the tour. When we would show up in England, the mayor of the town would come out, and we would do a parade with all the surfers walking down the middle of town while the whole town came and cheered for us all that we were in their town.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Okay.
Tea and crumpets.
So give me the thumbnail sketch. How does Surfer George become Pastor George?
Well, the thumbnail version of that is near the tail end of my professional surfing career. I was here in California and surfing professionally, but I was doing youth ministry, my wife and I together. Married in 91, competed through 92 locally. But as I got married, my wife and I started into youth ministry together, which we continued in that for 9 years. But we were combining that with a little bit of surf income. She was waiting a whole lot of tables to make it work. And I was doing part-time youth ministry for a little church in Laguna Niguel, California, which I told the pastor, here was the job. He said, we just need somebody to love these kids. And I said, I go to Mexico on surf trips, but I can take them on mission trips to Mexico, and I can teach them the Bible every Tuesday. And the guy goes, that sounds great. You're hired. So teach them the Bible study and take them on Mexico mission trips, which I combined as surf trips, mission trips to Mexico, surf and serves. So it was great the way that worked. But in those youth ministry years of putting all of that together, Cheryl and I finished our bachelor's degrees together at Biola University, began praying about what's next. The surf industry seemed like what was next. That was the job offers I was getting. I got a really great job offer from the surf industry. Went all the way, turned down 3 other companies, no thank you. Went all the way to the final interview. It took me 2 months with this giant surf brand in Southern California. Sat down with the national sales manager, and he said, you're my guy. Thursday morning, we're going to sign paperwork. Call me Wednesday night, and we'll set it up. I called him Wednesday night, and he said, hey, I'm really sorry, George, but we're not going to hire you. And I objected, and I said, it's been 2 months of interviews. There's nobody else. You already told me you're going to hire me. What in the world happened? And he said, I'm a Christian. And the fact was he hadn't been living as a Christian. So I just gave him a really brief kind of, I know you say that kind of talk, but frankly, your life doesn't show that. And I went into some detail, and he goes, let me just stop you right there. He said, see, that's it. I know you're a godly man, and this is the first time I've prayed in 3 years. But he said, I put my head down, and I said, God, should I hire George to work for our company? And he said, I heard the voice of the Lord say, don't hire that man. I'm calling him to be a pastor.
Wow.
And he literally, back in, landline, he goes, so I'm really sorry, bro. And he hung up, and it was a dial tone in my ear. I was holding a phone with a dial tone, and I looked at my wife and I go, you won't believe what just happened. You won't believe it. I told her the story, and she said, we've been praying about this for a long time. We've been in ministry for a long time.
Right.
What I had heard from mentors was that ministry is not a career you choose for yourself. It's a calling, and if God wants you, he'll call you. And I remember my wife just looked at me and she said, what if that was God's call? And it still touches me to this day, because when she looked at me and she said that was confirmed in my spirit that this was God's call. And from that phone call, the surf industry was closed doors at this point. I'd turned everything down, and now I'd been turned down. And it was my life's goal since I was 8 years old. And the doors all shut on that. And I looked at my wife and I said, okay, what is the Lord calling us to do? Within months, we'd been sent to a church planting conference. We had been assessed. We had been hired by a church planting organization. We had a vision for San Clemente that we'd been prayer walking. The Lord brought it all together, and the Lord called us to plant the Shoreline Church of San Clemente in late 1999, early 2000. So that was a fast series of events, but God made it clear. So that's been the wonderful thing about it. It was like, okay. And that's part of the fun of why the shoreline happens to. So when you look at our theme verse, it says, when they brought their boats to the shoreline, they left everything and followed Jesus. And it has this very beach community, surf community, because the surf industry was either in Huntington Beach or in San Clemente. This is where the brands were. So this was all my friends. This is where I trained. This is where I surfed. This is where I lived since 1985. And so this was really home. So my wife and I had to get over the hurdle of like, so you're going to plant a church as a mission in your own hometown? And it was like, yeah, the Lord's calling us to do exactly that. So that's what we did.
Well, so all I'm thinking of, job interview, you tell the interviewer that he's not living right.
Right.
This might not result in a job, I'm just thinking maybe.
It was an early conversion, so yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
I know.
He asked me.
But then the other, as far as God's calls, it's like, okay, Balaam's donkey, I've got, this is not where I thought it would come from, but that's pretty cool. Okay, so fast forward, because God's blessed you. How long, Chris, you serve as executive pastor here. I know you do other stuff too. You're like...
Yes, my title is Director of Financial Stewardship.
Are you and your wife both CPAs, or did I make that up?
My wife is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a contract CFO
elevated you.
for years. Yeah. In some people's eyes. So yeah. In others, you just,
So anything you want to say that's amazing about Chris is going to be true.
Okay.
He's just amazing.
I know that. I know that. I always just tease him because it's Southern California. He can wear shorts and a coat.
It's true.
You can do that in Southern Cal. So how long have you been at Shoreline?
We came when my son was first a baby, and he is going to be 22.
Okay.
So yes, probably 21 years.
So long time. So God clearly calls you. Prophet's not without honor in his home country, so it's tough, come plant, where you were a surfer dude, and that's what everybody knew you as, even though you're involved in youth ministry. God's blessed you. The church is growing. Like I say, getting a second building here in the business park. The last time I was with you, you said something to me I had never heard of before, but you also are part of a consortium of churches around the world that are in surfing communities.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, we call it the Surf Church Collective, and it is global. And we were invited into a conversation. So Christian Surfers has been an organization since 1982, I think it was. A guy named Brett Davis out of Australia. He started a group of, he didn't know any surfers who believed in Jesus. And all of a sudden he met a few, and he gathered them together for a little Bible study. And he said, hey, what if we share Jesus with other surfers? And this turned into a worldwide organization over time. So I was invited to speak through my professional career at Christian Surfers Outreaches in Australia and eventually around the world, America and other places. So Christian Surfers about 10 years ago approached our church and a few others, and they said, you've planted churches successfully that are reaching surfers in beach towns. Would you guys have a conversation with each other? And we said, why? And he said, because Christian Surfers doesn't want to get off mission. Our mission is to go to the beach and lead surfers to Jesus. We're not called to church plant, but we'd love a church planting partner that we're kind of like a bridge. Like if we lead somebody to Jesus on a beach, we'd love to walk them over a bridge to a great church. And in South America, they're walking them across the bridge to a church, and the pastor's saying, stop surfing, it's evil, it's from Satan, put on a tie, wear long pants, you're getting the traditional talk.
Right.
And they're like, no, we need people that know surfers. So one of the guys in this conversation named Dennis Leon from Costa Rica planted 9 surf-friendly churches in Costa Rica that were non-traditional, but biblically solid.
Right.
So this started to catch on. I'm going, Dennis is down there. Rich is in France. He's planted a church in France. Robbie has planted salty churches in Florida. George and Cheryl have planted the Shoreline Church in San Clemente. So Christian surfers brought us together in one conversation, and we looked at each other, and our missions and callings were so identical. We were like, so we're not the only one. It was one of those deals where it's
Right.
like, I'm not the only one. And all of a sudden, we all looked at each other and we said, how many others are out there? So we formulated ourselves, started talking to others, and the count's been going up. I mean, we're close to over 100 that have joined now worldwide, and a lot of those are planting churches as well. Salty Church just planted a few more. We've planted a few more. Dennis has planted a few more, is planting one right now at Pavones. So what you see is it's not only an organization of existing churches, it's churches with a heart to church plant. So all of a sudden, this missions organization has this expansion plan where surfers are going out to reach other surfers and planting churches in the meantime. So it's super exciting. It's dynamic, it's growing, and it all started of like, hey, I'm not alone. There's others doing this, and let's do it together.
If you need me, I will come out of retirement. I planted, in the last century. So, I'll come out of retirement if there is a place that God has on your heart in Hawaii for me to go. I mean,
I like it.
I can't surf, but I could probably carry a board.
There you go.
And I definitely don't like socks. So
You might be surprised how many
You're
people
in.
hear God's call to Hawaii.
I know. I think it's audible.
Amazing.
All right. So before we get off here, and you guys have been great and gracious, and I appreciate it. Tell me just a little bit about, I know that this plant, you've outgrown it and you're going to do some stuff to it, and then God opened the door for the second building. What are you doing with this? Remind me what the project is here for this plant.
Yes, this building, we call it 211, across the street's 208. This building, the expansion plan is essentially a preschool at the back, and that means some build out in the back. Where we're sitting is going to become a public-facing cafe, Parasong Coffee and Bowls, and then the worship center will expand. As the preschool expands, that'll move some of kids' ministry upstairs as well, so there'll be some renovation upstairs. So this whole building will be touched kind of at every point, not an expansion of the exterior footprint of the building, but changed within as to how it can hold more people in the worship center, more kids, both upstairs and downstairs, and kind of facilitate more people being able to be here, more from the community. Just at Christmas time, we had almost 4,000 people come into the building and just holding services, and every service is full, and we're trying to fit people in overflows and outdoor venues and things like that too. So it's pretty exciting to see what God's doing. And we're not the only church in San Clemente that God's doing that with. Other churches are growing too. So there's a movement of God going on here for sure.
You are adding the largest deck in California.
Yes.
There's a ravine behind the
one or
building
two.
that it's like, hey, we're going to build over that. How big is this deck going to be?
Yeah, 3,000 square foot.
That's a big deck.
Yeah.
It is, and it's exciting though, because you know what that deck is going to do? It's going to bring kids onto our property to not only learn and go to school, but those kids are going to become, prayerfully, followers of Jesus. Maybe their families will be changed. It's going to bring the community in a school setting to our property in ways that are wonderful and dynamic. And that deck is also going to have trees coming through it, and it's going to have mud and dirt and ants and butterflies and plants and a greenhouse, and it's going to be very organic and things like that too, because we want it to be natural and lead kids to understanding creation and things like that too. So it's so exciting, the life change that deck is going to promote.
Well, I am glad the surfer dude spoke for God for you. and called you into ministry. You guys are doing an amazing thing. Shoreline's an amazing church. Thank you so much for sharing your pizza with us and for hanging out with us for a few minutes. And
thanks for having us.
Oh,
we're happy to be on Pastors That Love Pizza.
Every time I say it different, and every time I get yelled at. So it's Pastors Getting Pizza.
Pastors Getting Pizza.
And if that's not it, that's what it's going to be.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.